I go to my first protest ever. I've never been to a protest in my life.
Oh,
It's
wow.
my first one.
Wow,
So
you really did it big.
if you do something, do it right. So or wrong, depending on your political leaning.
Mhm.
Um, so my buddy texts me on Instagram. He's like, "Hey, do you want to go up there?" This is probably 2.5 weeks before January 6th, and I was like, "Well, I'll see if I can get a sitter, and sure, we'll go." So we asked the wife, and she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "Ah, it's gonna be fun. It'll be fine. I'll be safe."
It'll be fun, they
Yeah,
say.
it'll be a good. It's history. It's Trump's last hurrah.
Mhm.
We've never been at this point in our country ever. So she gives me like a yes because she trusts me. Mistake number one. And we bought plane tickets and we head up to DC. We got there, I think, a day before January 6th. We flew in early in the morning. Excuse me.
COVID.
And yeah, COVID. Yes, long COVID. Long COVID. Yeah. So we got there the day before and we had to go in and see Alex Jones in they had a park at Centennial Park or something in DC.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. So we saw him speak and then we kind of got bored after that because it was a bunch of just, the same rhetoric you've been hearing, like, day in and day out. They do this, they do that. We got to stand up. And we actually, there's a picture. I can't pull it up. You can find it though, I'm sure. We end up getting caught in with this group that's kind of marching down the road. And again, never been in a protest before, but it turns out I found after the fact they're actually Proud Boys. I had
Uh-oh.
no, I had no idea. So I'm
They get a
marching with,
bad rap. There's a
yeah,
lot of good ones out there.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm marching with these people, and they're very like just they got a megaphone to march, and they're like this happened, and we're here to say America first, and it's our country, and we ended up getting to a place where there's like this police barricade, and the protest that we're in stops in front of the police barricade, and about 100 yards down the alley, there is a separate protest going on. It's BLM.
Was this the day before or this is the day
This
of?
was the day before.
Okay, this
This
was
was
the
the day
5th,
before.
okay.
This is my first experience in DC. So, we're sitting there and I'm asking the cops like, "Hey, what's going on?" Like, "Oh, it's a BLM protest. They have, they filed the paperwork. They can be there. They're allowed to protest. It's fine." I'm like, "Oh, cool." So, I'm talking to some people, getting some ideas of what's going on because I'm just here to learn. And at one point, there's a protest that comes from BLM up to the police line and starts antagonizing the Proud Boys. I don't know if they're all Proud Boys, but the group that I'm in. And, she's like, fuck this and fuck that. And, you're a bunch of fucking Nazis and all this shit. And, it's antagonizing the crowd. Well, there's a point where the cops actually open up and let her through into the side that we are. And it just causes an absolute riot. Like at this point, people are like pushing cops back and forth. They got to drag her back to her side. And I'm watching this probably, not more than 10 feet back, watching what's going on. I'm like, oh my God, it's all theater. Like they
Mm.
create
Yeah,
these
why would they let
environments.
this person in? That's clearly
Yeah.
unhinged, clearly
Yep.
gonna create chaos only.
Yeah. So there's this
Isn't their
picture.
job to de-escalate?
Yeah, not in DC, not in
Mm.
DC. So there's this picture of me the night before that I put on my Facebook, where I'm doing kind of this, like thing in the back, and I say riots on my Facebook. Great image. And people had people had a this conspiracy theory that I'm part of BLM because you see
Oh,
BLM
wow.
flags in the background. So there was this whole idea going around that I was a staged actor in January 6th in the Capitol because I was there with, BLM the night before.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You don't really seem like the type to be with BLM. I don't know. You're also a soulless ginger, so
I
maybe that's why people thought you were associated.
I support protest in all forms, nonviolent protest. If you have something
True.
that you're upset about and you don't like the government, oh, it's very important. I got to say, I'm not a Fed. My wife is telling me right now. I'm definitely not a Fed.
Remember to tell them
Yeah.
you're not a Fed.
Yeah. So I support protests in all form, nonviolently. If you got a problem with the government, like just you have a right to go protest.
Yeah, it's our right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And what they've done with January 6th is convinced half the country you are not allowed to protest anymore. And if you do, we will arrest you, come after you, lock you up, whether you were violent or not,
Mhm. Inside or out, it doesn't even
inside or out.
matter.
Hmm.
Old, young,
Mhm.
confused.
Unless your name is Ray Epps, and then you don't get arrested at all. You kinda get a
Yeah.
pass.
I was looking through some of my footage, uh, with, Nick Searcy, who's making another documentary about it, and he's like, "Wait, pause it right there." In one of my, videos, you can see Ray Epps, like, patting 2 guys on the back, like,
Mhm.
I was like, "Wow!" It's like, "Where's Waldo for January 6th?" It's very exciting. Like, "There he is." Okay, cool. So you get kind of mixed up, just seeing the sights on the 5th and on the 6th. My sort of schedule was like I was there to cover it, so I was like, let's get there really early and get a really good seat, like in the front. We got there at I think 7 or 8, and it was still there's no chance we're getting anywhere near the front. It was
No.
already so full with hundreds of thousands of people. I was like, I guess
That
we're in the
yeah.
back now.
That line was, like, hours long to get through. There were security clearances and God,
Wow.
and you guys were lucky because you had porta potties. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, on the outside of that, they had, 2 bathrooms that were, like, a quarter mile away by the, World War II, um, God, by the Lincoln
Thing.
Memorial and everything, yeah. That's all we had was 2 bathrooms. The line were, like, an
Ugh.
hour long to get inside.
So some of you were peeing your pants, I guess.
Or the bushes,
Or
allegedly, some
yeah,
people.
that's the word on the street.
So, I guess so he had the speech, and then we're all kind of wondering what's going on. He's like, "We're gonna march peacefully down to the Capitol, let our voices be heard, because that's again our right to do." So, you marched down the same road I was going, and there were so many people there that day. I've been to football games and stuff, and this
I
was
think there was over 1,000,000. I you can't tell me any different, like, I don't buy that there's, "Oh, just a few 100,000." Like, no, I've never been anywhere with this many people ever.
ever, ever. So I marched down there, or march, walk, taking pictures and stuff. And when I get there, it's already under like siege, like people are, and I don't shy away from this. There were people that were fighting with cops, there were people that were shoving,
Really?
pushing,
I didn't
throwing
see
shit.
any of that. I think 'cause
I
I think I was behind. I think we were, like, in the later group.
I was there like almost right away. So when we get up there, there's a group of people that are shouting at cops, right? And this is probably it's at the base of the building. So there's like stairs you have to go up to get to like the layer that gets you back up to the second set of stairs to get you to the front of the building. So this is like probably one staircase up. And there are people that are just shouting at the cops, you're betraying your country, do the right thing. We're here to protest. You shouldn't be here. Let us go protest. And at some point, and again, I don't know who started it, whether it was the cops or the protesters, but shit just popped off, you know? But there was tear gas that came out of nowhere. There was a flashbang that came out and just, or concussion grenade that just popped at my feet, and I'm just sitting here
Whoa.
watching what's going on, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is not what a protest is supposed to be. And
Yeah.
I don't know who was at the front of those lines. I don't know what they were doing, but I can tell you that the people that I was with, the people that we were watching, this was not our temperament. This is not what we were here to do. And most of us are pulling people back and say, hey, this is not us. Like, leave the cops alone. Stop hitting them.
Yeah, I heard that there was a group of folks where, somebody, like, they were able to get out of somebody's hand, like, I don't know, not some kind of, I don't know, like a wrench or, like, something, and then
Mhm.
someone took it out of their hands and literally passed it up, like, to a cop, like, there were
Yes,
I have so many people keep telling me so many examples of folks trying to de-escalate themselves, s
absolutely.
that was not why
Absolutely.
people were there.
No, and the majority of people were not that. And I say this as well. There are the people that were escalating towards violence were outside. They weren't inside. Inside, people were like you've seen the videos walking through velvet ropes, like putzing around, taking pictures with cops. That is what was happening inside. And most of the video that we have is outside. And that's what they use to show, it's the most
Mhm.
violent day in history. It's 9/11 in Pearl Harbor, all over again. We don't have the video inside. And the video inside that we have is Jacob Tansley being escorted around by the police.
Yeah. Led around like a private tour.
Hmm.
Could not have been more chill. Yeah, it's so
So
crazy.
I'm watching. I'll keep going if you want. I'm watching this stuff go on, and I walk away from the violence because that's not what I'm here to do. It's not what I'm about. Not that guy. I believe in protests, and I ended up climbing the scaffolding that is by the front of the entrance to kind of get a bird's eye view to see what's going on. And you could not tell where it stopped or started. The crowd was so freaking massive, and at this point, like you wonder, does this end? Like, how does this end? Because there are a lot of people here that understand what is actually going on, what is at stake, and what is the end goal of this? And it's kind of the quiet part we don't talk about. Like, is this the last stand? Is it over after this? Or and we go back home and then everything just
Right.
we just take it a spoonful at a time
'Cause
and
folks were like, "Oh, are we done having elections now?" It's like, has our country just fundamentally changed where
mhm.
we're just not really part of the process anymore?
Yeah, I mean, those were
Yeah.
the questions that we had when we showed up. Like, is this it? Is this our last stand? And then once it's over, there's nothing we can do ever again. So I don't mean to soapbox too much, but
I should have cued some dramatic music.
but when I came down from the scaffolding, people were just walking inside. The doors were wide open, and I thought, hey, the protest is going inside. I guess I'm here to protest. I'll go protest. You know. So I walk through open doors.
So there's
Like,
tons of people just walking in
yep,
calmly. You don't have to,
yep,
like,
just
kick anything
20
over.
nope, doors
Like,
were wide open.
stay at the museum. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I walk inside and, we go through this narrow corridor, and we end up going into the, rotunda. Have you been to the Capitol before?
I've never been inside. I think because I had one field trip in, I think it was middle school or high school, and I forgot my permission slip. It was literally me and Alexandra Rakowski were the only people who forgot our permission slips, so I really missed my only chance to go, I guess, until until January 6th, so I've never been inside.
Well, listen, when
What
I'm
else
done, I'll take you on a tour.
okay,
I know the
okay.
building's layout now. I can show you all the cool spots. It'll be it'll be good.
The rotunda, that's like I've seen pictures though, it's like the round inside part with all the pictures
Mhm,
on the wall with where people were walking through the velvet ropes.
mhm. There's, like, this giant oculus above you, and it's got this, it looks like the Sistine Chapel. Like, the
Ooh.
the money they spent on this is just it's ridiculous, but, that's the government. Um, so we end up in there and it gets really quiet. The crowd that was chanting "Stop the steal," the crowd that was saying, "Whose house, our house," it just gets really quiet, and people are kind of reverent to the idea of where they are.
It
And
looked
these
like
are
everybody was very respectful, not
Mhm.
tipping anything over. I saw footage of people picking up trash, picking
Yeah,
up poles that had tipped over.
these are not people who had any desire to harm anyone or harm anything in that building. These are people who love the country more than the people who work in that building.
For real. That's so sad. Yeah.
It is, it is. But the majority of people there, and again, inside people they were calm. They were not violent people. And so I don't know where I am. There's no guide tours there that day or maps for me to figure out what I'm doing. So I kind of just walk around for a little bit, and I find this lectern that's sitting underneath the staircase, and it's not in a locked room. It's not anywhere. It's just sitting out in the open. And I'm like, oh God, that's going to be a great prop for a photo in the middle of the Capitol. So I pick it up and I take it about 20 yards into the center of the room. I set it down. I give a short speech. I get my photo taken on the way, and then I leave it in the middle of the room. That's the.
Oh, so you pretended to give a speech at the lectern?
I actually gave a speech. It was a great speech. I think probably the best
Wow.
speech behind that lectern ever, ever.
Do
If
you
I
remember
had
anything
to,
you do you remember anything you said?
I did. I did. I said, we have to call order to this house. Um, first of all, no more traitors, no more treason, and we're going to vote on one budget item at a time.
Wow. I mean, I
Which
feel like you're qualified for the job. I mean,
I
I
think that would solve
yeah,
everything. You know?
yeah. Wow.
So,
That's
so
cool.
after the lectern, I
Who took
go
your
ahead.
picture then?
It
Did you
was
just
actually a
give your phone to
Getty.
somebody and said, like
It's Getty Images. So they were
Oh,
photographers all
wow.
over that building. So from the moment that I entered to the moment that I left, there were professional press pass photographers
Weird that there would be
everywhere.
professional photographers there in advance.
Yeah, almost like they were told, "Hey, hang out," because
Right? Because I don't know if there were any professional photographers, like, at any of the BLM protests or even the one that just happened in Florida. Like, I don't they're not catching anybody's good angles like
no,
they were that day.
no. Well, I think the Florida Capitol was just stormed actually, where I stay
Yes.
over the abortion ban, and the photos that I've seen, the videos I've seen, it's very amateur.
Mhm.
You know,
They needed to call Getty Images. Maybe they wanted to go cheap. Yeah.
exactly. So there's a few pictures of me in the building that I post. I took some selfies of myself, but those have been since deleted on Facebook. They nuked all of my socials within, I think it was 6 hours. So I lost like 10 years worth of family photos and videos that I had posted. They're all gone.
That's horrible.
It,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, but I was only there for about 20 minutes inside the building, and the last little bit that I was there, I followed a group down towards the Senate doors, and I'm on my phone texting my wife like, "Hey, I'll leave in a minute." She's like, "No, leave now," and I'm like, "Ah, I gotta get a few more pictures. It's gonna be fun."
Yeah.
And we get to the doors, and they're banging on. I'm like, "Let us in, let us in." I start chatting to a guy next to me, like, "Hey, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, that's where they're meeting to count the votes." Then I'm like, "What are they still doing here? Like they should be gone. Have they not been evacuated yet? Because this has been going on for like 2 hours,
Hmm.
you know?" And so is that moment like I'm gonna get out of here. This is not where I should be. Like if they're still here, I don't want to be a part of that whole thing. I literally thought we're just gonna go protest and be like, "Hey, we don't like what you're doing." And
Yeah. Just physically there, not trying to stop anything. I
right.
didn't even know there was vote counting going on until, like, way later. I don't know. I wasn't the most clued in person, though.
No, but that's kind of it though. They want to call us all insurrectionists and traitors to our country. And it's like, look, I remember it was not too long ago when the Kavanaugh trials were protested and they stormed the building and they were banging on the doors just like the people that were in front of me on January 6th. And you know what they got? They got fines and a slap on the wrist and said, "Hey, don't do that again, please and thank you."
Yeah, I don't think their photos were professionally taken and smeared for
No,
2
they weren't
straight
sent
years.
to a federal prison for 75 days. They weren't given a year of probation and a $5,000 fine. Like, they weren't given those things. They weren't.
Wow. Okay, so your wife is texting you,
Yeah.
"Scram," and you're like, "No, I need a few pictures."
Well, it's history. It's
Yeah.
history, you know? So I'm getting some pictures and I'm at the doors, talk to the guy, and he's like, "Oh, they're in." I'm like, "Ah, I guess I'm gonna leave now." And at that point, I think either tear gas or fire extinguisher was released on the people that would somewhere from the front. Some clouds start going up, and I'm like, "Oh God, I guess it's definitely time to go." So I left the building, left out the doors, and started walking back to my hotel. And I think it was about 30 minutes. I had to walk back to Georgetown, so it was like an hour and a half walk back.
Oh,
And
wow. You
yeah,
walked for an hour and a half?
I like exercise. I do, so I don't mind
Okay.
walking. So I walk back there, and by time I'm thinking about 30 minutes in, there's this couple on bicycles that like stop in the middle of the road, like, "Oh my God, it's the guy." And I'm like, "What does that mean?"
The guy, you were the guy.
So I'm getting recognized like 30 minutes into the walk back to my hotel. And I get on my phone, which was dead and charging in my backpack. I turn it back on and I'm like, "Oh shit. This is not great." And
Oh, man. Love you guys. Thank you for the chats. Thank you for the comments. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye. Bye. All right. Love you guys. God, I don't even want to leave. This candle smells so good. I don't want to leave. All right. Love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye. Love you all. Join the Discord. Feet. Love you all. Wow. You guys are awesome. Love you, get it. Bye, guys. Bye. Now I'm really leaving. Love you. Bye.